What if the grand tales we weave about life's purpose are but fragile shields against an abyss we dare not name? Picture a moment when every promise of redemption, whether whispered by ancient gods, modern utopias, or the quiet hope of personal triumph, dissolves into silence, leaving us alone with the stark truth of our existence. In this exploration, we turn to Friedrich Nietzsche, a philosopher whose voice cuts through the fog of Western thought like a blade of light. With prophetic clarity and poetic fire, he reveals how our cherished true worlds, from the eternal forms of Plato to the fleeting dreams of arrival, both cradle our deepest longings and lead us toward despair. Join me as we venture into this labyrinth of meaning, where the stakes are nothing less than the soul's survival in a world unmoored. In the waning years of the 19th century, as the smoke of industry thickened the air and the pillars of faith trembled under the weight of doubt, Friedrich Nietzsche set down words that echo like a storm across the ages. In 1888 he wrote, "What I relate is the history of the next 2 centuries. I describe what is coming, what can no longer come differently, the advent of nihilism." These lines, drawn from the pages of The Will to Power, are not a mere forecast. They are a revelation, a piercing insight into the soul of a civilization teetering on the edge of an existential void. Nihilism, as Nietzsche saw it, is not some distant theory to be debated in quiet halls. It is a living force, a shadow that creeps into the heart when we confront the possibility that life, stripped of divine purpose or transcendent meaning, might hold no value at all. It is the conviction that the world cares nothing for our highest hopes, that our suffering finds no echo in the stars, and that existence itself might be a cruel jest played by an indifferent cosmos. To stand in the presence of nihilism is to flirt with a darkness so profound it threatens to swallow all light. It murmurs that life may not be worth the struggle, that to be is to endure a pointless battle against an uncaring emptiness. Nietzsche saw this dance as a betrayal of life's essence, a rejection of the vital energy that courses through our veins. The question whether not to be is better than to be is itself a disease, a sign of decline, he wrote. The nihilistic movement is the expression of physiological decadence. Here, he casts nihilism not as a noble intellectual pursuit, but as a sickness, a weariness of spirit, a collapse of the will to thrive. Yet, while this shadow has haunted humanity in every time and place, Nietzsche argued it finds its most fertile soil in the modern West. To understand why, we must follow his gaze through the tangled history of our thought, tracing the roots of a despair that threatens to unravel the very fabric of our being. Nietzsche's diagnosis begins with a bold assertion. The West has long been ensnared by worldviews that diminish this earthly life in favor of an imagined true world. In 1885, he observed, "Why has the advent of nihilism become necessary? Because the values we have had hitherto thus draw their final consequence. Because nihilism represents the ultimate logical conclusion of our great values and ideals. This true world, a realm of perfection set against the imperfections of our reality, has been the beating heart of Western philosophy and faith for thousands of years. It offers a promise of salvation, a destination where suffering is overcome, and eternal peace awaits." As the philosopher Julian Jung writes in The Death of God and the Meaning of Life, a true world is a destination such that to reach it is to enter or perhaps re-enter a state of eternal bliss or utopia. Hence true world philosophies give meaning to life by representing it as a journey towards redemption, towards an arrival which will more than make up for the stress and discomfort of the traveling. This story of journey and arrival finds its first great architect in Plato, a thinker whose shadow stretches across the centuries. In the 4th century BCE, the Greek philosopher envisioned a reality split in two. The world we see, hear, and touch, rife with change, decay, and illusion, he named the world of becoming. It is a deception, he argued, like shadows dancing on the walls of a cave, fleeting and unreliable. Beyond this lies the world of being, an eternal realm of the forms perfect, unchanging ideals of beauty, justice, and truth. For Plato, the purpose of life is to turn away from the chaos of the senses, to tame the wild tides of emotion, and to ascend through the power of intellect to grasp these eternal truths. This ascent, he promised, is the path to enlightenment, the end of suffering and the discovery of a reality that shines brighter than the dim mirage we inhabit. Julian Young reflects, Plato's way of giving meaning to life has dominated virtually the entire history of Western thought and feeling. Nowhere is this dominance clearer than in Christianity, which Nietzsche famously called Platonism for the masses. Like Plato's vision, Christianity divides existence into two realms: this fallen world, scarred by sin and steeped in sorrow, and the kingdom of heaven, a true world where the righteous find redemption and eternal joy. The parallels are unmistakable. Both philosophies cast this life as a place of exile, a shadowed veil we must endure to reach our true home. Yet Christianity reshapes Platonism with a broader appeal, weaving a tale of divine love, moral struggle, and a personal God who offers salvation to all. Young notes, one does not, I think, need much convincing that Christianity is basically a version of Platonism, of the true world, a true home view of reality. But Nietzsche's tale does not end with the triumph of these ancient frameworks. He proclaimed the death of God, a phrase that captures the fading belief in a singular deity across the modern West. This shift, seismic in its implications, did not extinguish the longing for true worlds. Instead, it gave rise to new shadows, secular echoes of the sacred promise. God is dead, but given the way of men, there may still be caves for thousands of years in which his shadow will be shown, Nietzsche warned in The Gay Science. These shadows took shape in the political ideologies that scarred the 20th century: fascism, socialism, communism, totalitarianism, each pledging a paradise built not in the heavens but on the earth. Nietzsche dubbed socialism latent Christianity, while Carl Jung, decades later, observed, "The state takes the place of God, the socialist dictatorships are religions." These movements sought to forge a new man, cleansed of history's flaws, promising utopias like the Nazi vision of an Aryan paradise or Karl Marx's communist end of history. The power of these ideologies lies in their resonance with older dreams: the coming of the Messiah, the return of Christ, the peace of Nirvana. As Immanuel Wallerstein wrote, "Communism is utopia, that is nowhere. It is the avatar of all our religious eschatologies." Milan Kundera, the Czech writer, added, "Totalitarianism is not only hell, but also the dream of paradise, the age-old dream of a world where everybody would live in harmony, united by a single common will and faith." Yet these visions, rooted in a rejection of the present, carried a fatal flaw. When their promises crumbled, they left behind a wasteland of disillusionment, a stepping stone to the nihilism Nietzsche foresaw. Today, the shadows endure in new guises. Radical environmentalists seek a return to a pristine earth, redeeming humanity's sins against nature. Transhumanists envision a future where technology transcends our frail flesh, lifting us toward godhood. Spiritual optimists proclaim a coming age of universal love and harmony. And then there is the myth of arrival, what psychologist Michael Mahoney called a pervasive belief that one day, all struggles will vanish and happiness will dawn. Embedded in the myth of arrival, Mahoney wrote, is the message that there will come a day when our struggles and suffering will be finished. We will wake up one morning and clearly recognize that we have arrived. This personal utopia mirrors the grander true worlds of old, a secular echo of the same discontent with the now. What binds these visions? Plato's forms, Christian heaven, political utopias, personal myths, is their deep pessimism. They judge this earthly reality as lacking, a flawed prelude to a greater truth. Nietzsche saw this rejection as the root of nihilism. The concept the true world insinuates that this world is deceptive, dishonest, inauthentic, inesnatalian, and consequently also not a world adapted to our needs. Why do we turn from the only reality we know? Nietzsche points to a fragility of spirit, a weariness of life, a need for a crutch to bear the weight of suffering. It is the instinct of life weariness which has created the other world, he wrote. To imagine another, more valuable world is an expression of hatred for the world that makes one suffer. This pessimism, Nietzsche argued, is a mere breath away from nihilism. Lose faith in the true world, and what remains is a reality already deemed unworthy. Pessimism is a preliminary form of nihilism, he declared. When the illusion of the true fades, we face the repudiated present and the abyss opens wide. The development of pessimism into nihilism finally, one discovers how the true world is fabricated solely from psychological needs, and now all one has left is the repudiated world, and one adds this supreme disappointment to the reasons why it deserves to be repudiated, he wrote in The Will to Power. At this precipice nihilism takes hold, granting the reality of becoming as the only truth yet one we cannot bear. To overcome this, Nietzsche urged a radical shift, a worldview that does not flee from this earth but embraces it, suffering and all. We need a philosophy that finds meaning in the present, in the only life we know, one that fosters flourishing by staying true to the here and now. In his next vision, explored in a future tale, he offers the will to power as this alternative, a call to affirm life in all its raw beauty and pain. I beseech you, my brothers, remain faithful to the earth, and do not believe those who speak to you of other-worldly hopes, he cried, and thus spoke Zarathustra. Despise our of life are they, decaying and poison themselves, of whom the earth is weary, so let them go. Let us linger here, for Nietzsche's words demand more than a fleeting glance. The true world, in all its guises, is a story we tell ourselves, a narrative born of longing, fear, and a refusal to face the world as it is. From Plato's cave to the spires of heaven, from the clenched fists of ideology to the quiet dreams of arrival, we see a pattern, a turning away, a condemnation of the now for the sake of a then. But what is this now, this earth that we so readily cast aside? It is the air we breathe, the ground beneath our feet, the joys and sorrows that weave the tapestry of our days. It is not a shadow but a substance, not a deception but a truth, the only truth we can grasp with certainty. Consider Plato's forms anew. In their stillness, they dazzle with perfection, an ideal of beauty that no flower can match, a justice no court can render. Yet what of the flower that blooms and fades, the justice flawed yet fought for? Are they less real for their impermanence? Plato bids us climb from a cave, but Nietzsche asks, why not dwell within it, not as prisoners but as creators, shaping meaning from the shadows themselves? Christianity, too, offers its heaven, a realm of light beyond the toil. But what of the too still, the sweat, the tears, the fleeting laughter? Are they mere detours, or are they the journey itself, rich with a meaning we overlook in our haste to escape? The shadows of God stretch long across our history. Fascism promised purity, communism equality, each a mirror of the paradise once sought in prayer. Yet their ruins strewn with broken lives whisper a lesson. To build a heaven on earth is to risk a hell instead. Today's shadows shift again, technology's gleam, nature's call, the mirage of a perfect self. Each holds a kernel of hope, yet each risks the same old trap, a disdain for the imperfect present, a flight from the real to the ideal. Mahoney's myth of arrival, so personal yet so universal, captures this in miniature, a belief that happiness lies just beyond the next hill, if only we endure a little longer. Nietzsche's challenge is stark. These true worlds are not saviors but snares. They spring from a weakness, a failure to stand firm in the face of life's storms. Does man not eternally create a fictitious world for himself because he wants a better world than reality? He asks. The question stings, for it lays bare our frailty. We dream of utopias because we falter at suffering. We cling to forms because we fear the flux. We pray for heaven because we doubt the earth. Yet what if this doubt is our undoing? What if the earth, in all its chaos, is not a prison but a canvas, a place where meaning is not found but made? To reject the true world is not to embrace despair but to open a door. Nihilism looms when we lose the crutch, yet keep the judgment when we see this life as flawed, but lack the vision to redeem it. Nietzsche's cure is not a new illusion but a new courage, to affirm this existence, to weave purpose from its threads, to say yes to the pain as well as the joy. This is no easy task. It demands a strength Plato's cave dwellers might lack, a resilience the faithful might trade for grace. but it is a task worthy of us, worthy of beings who live, breathe, and dare to question. Let us pause and reflect on this earth we inhabit. It is a place of wonder and wound, of fleeting sunsets and enduring struggles. Plato saw shadows. Nietzsche saw light not beyond, but within. Christianity offered eternity. Nietzsche offered the moment not as a means, but as an end. The ideologies of yesterday promised perfection. Nietzsche promises only what we can forge. The myth of a rival tempts us with a finish line. Nietzsche bids us run the race for its own sake. In this shift lies the antidote to nihilism, not a denial of suffering, but an embrace of it as the soil from which life grows. To explore this further, we must turn to Nietzsche's own vision, the will to power, a force not of domination but of creation, a call to shape our fate rather than flee it. This is no simple creed. It is a summons to stand tall, to find joy in the struggle, to make of this earth a home rather than a way station. Remain faithful to the earth, he pleads, and in those words lies a revolution, a turning from the sky to the soil, from the dream to the deed. The true world fades, and with it the shadows. What remains is ours to claim. This journey through Nietzsche's thought is not a tale of gloom but of possibility. The West, with its long lineage of true worlds, stands at a crossroads. Will we cling to the old stories, watching them crumble into nihilism's grasp? Or will we heed to affirm what is, to build meaning where we stand? The answer lies not in the stars, nor in its, but in us, in our willingness to face the real, to wrestle with its thorns, and to find in its embrace a theme truer than any utopia. In the tapestry of Nietzsche's warnings, we find a mirror to our own age, a reflection of a world caught between the fading echoes of true worlds and the looming silence of nihilism. True freedom, as a beacon of inquiry, invites us to ponder this. The value of our existence lies not in escaping this earth, but in embracing it, in crafting meaning from the raw material of our days. This exploration reveals that our deepest hopes, when tethered to illusions, lead us astray, yet in their place we can forge a purpose grounded in the here and now. We ask you, seekers of wisdom, to join this conversation. Like this video, share it with those who dare to question, and subscribe for more journeys into the heart of thought. Your comments and ideas fuel our path. Tell us what stirs your mind, what topics you'd like us to unravel next. After this, stay tuned for a discussion with James and Sophia, whose insights will deepen this dialogue. Together, let us remain faithful to the earth, building a freedom that endures.